Greetings, Warlords. Rodge here. Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from a studio Tomahawk. Today we're joined by Mark over in Indiana. Mark, how's it going?
Going very well, thank you, Rodge. How are you doing today?
Good, good. So I just want to say thank you for putting me up a few weeks ago as this was recorded. I imagine I'll put it up pretty quick, but you let me stay at your place while I was getting my Saga action on over there in Indiana and Ohio. So I really appreciate that.
It was a pleasure having you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you were playing Franks at the event I attended, Advance the Colors. And so I've been looking for a Franks man for years now, Mark. So,
Well, frankly, that army is right up my alley.
all right, sounds good. So you graciously accepted an invitation to come on and talk about them. They're the last board from Age of Invasions that I needed to complete. I don't remember when I did the last one. It's been a while, but the Franks players are kind of hard to find on the ground here, so I really appreciate it. So, why are you playing Franks? What drew you to them?
I'm a kind of a simple, straightforward kind of guy, and you really can't get any more straightforward than the Franks. They don't have a tremendous number of tricks up their sleeve. They have, I was going to say very few, but they have no equipment options. They want to get up, get in your face, and do as much damage as they can. So again, that's right up my alley. I like to get stuck in. I don't like to just hang back and throw things at people as they're coming in. Let me get up there and get down and dirty.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think that is how they play. They're kind of like what people imagine how the Vikings would play or should play. I think they play kind of different. I think the Franks kind of do what people think the Vikings should be able to do. So I think they're definitely a good place to start in Saga. And I'll put them up there with the Saxons too. I've been waiting to get the Franks done. Once this video is done and out there, me and Monty will do a faction review. I got some thoughts about the three different kind of barbarian factions and how they stack up against each other. So I'm really interested to kind of hear your thoughts on the Franks as we go here, because I have my own as well. But let's jump into those equipment options. So at first, it seems there really isn't anything going on, as you say, but we'll talk about the Franciscas in a moment. Warlord Hearthguard, warriors, no equipment, just on foot, levies with bows and slings. So this is before they discovered the horses, apparently later. Charlemagne times, I guess that's the Carolingians from Age of Vikings. But these are just kind of the foot slogger Franks.
Exactly.
And I think I'm trying to think back. Did you play back in first edition, Mark?
No, I did not.
Okay.
In fact, my buddy and I during COVID discovered Saga through watching one of your casts and decided to give it a try. So that was right after second edition started to become in vogue, so to speak.
Okay, yeah, I think it was probably a year or two after Saga second edition came out. Okay, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if they had horses or not back.
Well, there's certainly horses available in the area. But
yeah,
my thought on the whole process is because of their terrain, mostly forested and rough terrain, horses wouldn't be a huge benefit to them.
Sure. Yeah. All right. But they do sort of have an equipment option here. The Franciscas. Is that how you say it?
Equipment option. Yeah, Franciscas. Yeah, they're not so much equipment option is picture, if you will, all these barbarians running around and their hand axes strewn all about their body as they're coming in and closing. They're chucking them at you.
Yeah. So heroes, Hearthguards, and warriors with at least 6 figures.
Exactly.
So it's kind of steering you towards bigger units there.
Yeah.
Mercenaries that you might recruit don't have the Franciscas, obviously. So it's a keyword on the battle board.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of cool, kind of interesting. So I know in the first edition, the Franciscas were actually like the current rules for javelins actually kind of came from Franciscas a little bit. as far as the melee aspect. So in the original book, they did have a special rule where they would count as like a heavy weapon on the charge. And then this is just if I remember correctly. And then if you were charged, you wouldn't use them. So you'd fight like normal. Your armor would be normal. So just when you charge, you got a +1 to hit, and your armor would go down by 1. Which is kind of, in second edition, again, that's kind of how javelins worked in melee. So it seems they kind of took that. And I don't think they could shoot them at range. It was just in melee.
No, they don't. It's just a melee thing. It's more of a psychological thing. If I'm coming at you and throwing the Franciscas, you're going to be ducking and cover and try not to get hit by these pieces of steel coming your way.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to find out what that's like in real life.
And conversely, if you're charging me, well, I want to deter you, so I'm throwing them right back at you, slow you down, so I can prepare my defenses.
So, pretty cool little thing here. So let's see how it works on the battle board. We'll just jump over to the abilities as we do here, go through them one by one. So up top, I believe it's exactly the same.
There's nothing special up there.
So upper left, we have Impact. This is a 2-die ability, which is a common and uncommon. Orders till the end of the turn. All your units equipped with Franciscas get 3 bonus attack dice whenever they charge a unit with melee armor 4 or less. So we can already see the kind of that keyword coming into play there. So your Warlord and Hearthguard will always get this. The Warriors, they need some buddies around. So this is a 2-die ability we found here on Saga Thursday. People are pretty miserly with their Saga dice when it comes to 2-dice abilities. They're reluctant to use them. Does this one meet the cut?
It does for me. I look at the Franks as being what I call conservatively aggressive, which means you want to get up there, you want to get in their face, but you don't want to spread yourself so thin trying to activate everything at once. You pick 1, maybe 2 of your units are going to be really active that turn. Impact really comes into that, especially if you're going after other warriors or levy units. So the idea is to concentrate all your attacks to try to wipe out 1 unit or at least win the combat, because that will feed into the next ability on the board, Show of Force.
Yeah, so we'll get into Show of Force. It's a really interesting ability here, but yeah, I like this one. You're just kind of beating up on the crappy units. So if you can charge a levy unit more than once, which is, I don't know, I like to do that. It's kind of the best way to kind of take them out. They usually have some kind of ability to stop you from killing so many the first time. So you can go in a second
Numbers
time.
Comes to mind. It's hard to chew through a 12-man levy unit, especially if they have no equipment options.
So the bonus attack dice are nice. I'll just kind of point out for the newer players, this with the 2022 FAQ, it does kind of ding the Warlord and possibly the Hearthguard a little bit. So your Warlord, he can only get 1 bonus attack from this ability. So that's kind of annoying. He can only go from 8 to 9.
Until they fix that, I hope.
Yeah. And then the Hearthguard will be, you have to have 3 Hearthguard to get the 3 bonus attack dice here. If you just have 1 Hearthguard. So it's not one of those abilities where you can soup up a depleted unit necessarily, but like we said, big units. We'll see why big units are so tasty. But let's move on to Show of Force. I think this it's really cool. It's kind of different from anything else in Saga, and I think kind of maybe colors or influences your decisions here early on in the game.
Right.
It's an uncommon dive. Show Force orders ability. Place 3 markers on this ability. After each melee won by your units, remove a marker from this ability. Once all the markers are removed, place 3 markers on momentum. So we'll take a look at momentum here in a second, I guess, but this ability doesn't do anything necessarily by itself.
It's setting you up for a mid and late game, provided you could win some combats, which is why impact is so important.
Yeah. So let's jump down to momentum then, because we need Show of Force in context here. So momentum is another ability that common die orders. Remove any number of markers to choose that many friendly units till the end of the turn. These units gain the determination special rule. Very tasty. And they get a +1 bonus to their attack dice during melees. Now,
Huge.
First you had my attention. Now you got my respect. So those two abilities kind of work together. So, what I'm guessing is, and I have dabbled in the Franks a little bit. Show of Force is kind of like basically the first horse you get is going to go there. Or
right, exactly.
Have you ever waited?
It's particularly juicy if you're second player and get 3 dice to put on your board. That way, when it comes around to your turn, you're not wasting any because you've already got it on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Franks using generally larger units, you're going to be using 5 or 6 order dice a turn anyway. So you're not going to be missing it in your die rolls on your turn. It's already set up. You're ready to go.
Yeah, so pop it first turn, turns 2 and 3, it's doing its thing, you're kind of tracking. So it just becomes a tracking piece at that point.
Right.
And then, I think the key with momentum is to pop it when you have the momentum still and getting those three wins early to be able to combine this with, a unit of 10 or 12 warriors and not at the end of the game when you're down to like 5 warrior units or something like that, right?
Right.
Is that how it goes?
That's generally what I try to do. Is it's hard to get it going mid-game, maybe late mid-game to late game. It'll come in because you can never be guaranteed you're going to get those early wins, which is why it's important to get up there, get stuck in as quickly as possible, and make sure that you have numbers on your side. So the probability of winning a game or winning a combat will feed that momentum.
Mm-hmm. So will you? So the Warlord, if he kills one model, he wins the melee because he's gonna usually, unless he dies himself, he'll survive.
Right.
The Hearthguard have better armor, so theoretically, they should be more likely to win. Are you trying to? I think common Saga wisdom is put the warriors in first, and then Hearthguard and the Warlord clean up. But the Hearthguard and Warlord are more likely to win melees. Do you still just get the warriors in, or do you make an effort to kind of win?
I try to get a good solid front line with my Hearthguard in a position where they can come around either to a flank or just smash right up the middle, usually on a flank. So I'll have my usually 3 blocks of warriors in proximity to usually my Warlord, so we can get the next ability of the Frankish people involved. And then if I have an opportunity with the Hearthguard to charge in and do some damage to a unit without taking too much damage in return, that's how I'll play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you definitely do it that way. So sometimes, I have played where I'll throw the Hearthguard in first. Sometimes you're going to take some damage in return. And so the nice thing about the Hearthguards is even when they're depleted, they're still generating a Saga die. So sometimes you go in, kind of trade casualties. They give as good as they get. They do get depleted, but you can kind of slink that Hearthguard unit away,
right.
And generate a Saga die for the rest of the game. And with the momentum here, it's kind of an extra little bonus to doing that. So really kind of, I like it. Makes you kind of think a little differently about your melees, these two abilities here. Now, have you ever popped Show of Force a second time because things are going so well, you won the 3 melees, you want to get the next 3 going? Has that ever happened?
No, it has never, ever happened. It's like I say, it's really so hard to get those early 3 wins in a combat. So momentum doesn't really take effect until late mid-game or even end game. Very rarely have I gotten momentum off and usable before the 4th turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that kind of jives with my limited experience as well. It's actually, so, you're trying to get these wins, but your opponent, is making sure you don't get these wins and putting additional effort to make it happen. So it's not as easy as it would seem at first.
Exactly.
And, kind of half the games I played, I still had one of these momentum tokens at the end of the game. I definitely use one or two for sure, but sometimes there's one left over, or I'll just use it on the warlord, to, he already has determination, so it's kind of a waste, but you're just, +1 to attack die, there's nothing to sneeze at there. So I kind of use it, maybe not as efficiently as I could.
Well, the thing about show of force and momentum working together is, say you get your early 3 wins and you're able to put those 3 tokens on momentum, that's not stopping you from firing up show of force again and going for another 3 wins, because there's no limit to how many tokens you can have on momentum. There's no limit to how many you can use in a turn.
Yeah, I agree. If you got the die, you can definitely get it going again, because with momentum, you're more likely to win more melee. It's a vicious cycle, as your opponent would see it. The more momentum you have, the more melees you're going to win. Let's keep it going.
Right.
So,
and as you're going along in the game, quite often your warriors will be out of position from your hero if you're only running with one. So that momentum is now going to come in and play a huge part, being able to activate that lone warrior unit for a charge or even for a rest if it needs it. So that termination is going to come in very, very handy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just Saga Dice efficiency. You can spin it a few different ways. Let's talk about that next one I think we'll be fully in context of how the Franks operate once we discuss the Frankish people. So common or uncommon, kind of a keystone ability here. Activate up to 3 units of warriors or levies within medium of a friendly hero for a rest, a move, or a charge. So this is pretty awesome here.
That is an ability you'll play every single turn.
Yeah.
So every turn.
Typically this would be,
you can rest.
Yeah, your warlord, but you could take personal champion or seer, whatever.
Depending on who I'm running, what I'm running, if I have to spread my units out, I will put in a personal champion, because it doesn't say it has to be within M of a single champion, just that the units have to be within M of a champion.
That's right. So you can spread out.
Exactly.
Get your warlord champ about 12 inches apart, and you got like a kind of a 24-inch bubble here. So I'm going to ask up front, what actually is your kind of preferred configuration for the moment between Hearthguard warriors and levies for your Franks?
Well, for instance, in this past ATC tournament, I had in the 7-point list 2 points of Hearthguard and 5 points of warriors is what I ran with.
Mm-hmm.
And when I deployed, it was generally using a 6-pack of Hearthguard, the rest warriors, in blocks of either a dozen and 3 or 9 or 10 with a small 6-man battery.
Okay.
Depending on how many dice I think I'd need and what the scenario was.
Sure. Yeah. So this ability basically lets you take bigger warrior units.
Mm-hmm.
You'll generate a Saga die less, probably, or maybe 2 less, but you're spending 1 die here to activate 3 units. So you're getting that kind of efficiency right back and kind of ending up where you started. And you could just use normal size units. Have you tried just kind of running them with
I've tried
6 or 8, or just going
6
wild?
or 8, but the problem with that is you lose your Franciscas really early, because remember, warriors have to have a minimum of 6 to have that ability.
It's pretty big, yeah. That's a big number.
So this battle board really encourages you to run with large units, which is what I like to do anyway. So like I said, this battle board is right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
So running across the field with 3 blocks of 12 warriors, one, it has a psychological impact on people. It's like, how the hell am I going to get through all these guys? And 2, when they're all activating on a single die and they're not done yet, it's really easy to get across the board in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what I found as well. So, have you ever given the levies a shot, getting them mixed in?
No, I haven't, because the board doesn't really support levies. Levies are for shooting. You get either slings or bows, and it would take either a die to activate them or your We Obey ability. I'd rather put those dice into combat. Get my big units stuck in, give them as many benefits as I can give them, and hopefully walk away with a win.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I've run the levies. I think, unit about, you can keep people honest. They're fine. With this ability, you can kind of make sure they keep up and you're not like losing anything. Like you said, this doesn't let them shoot, so you still have to have your warlord there to wheel bay or spend a die. So it's not the best, but this allows them to kind of keep up and make sure they're going to be in the spot where they need to go. But if you're taking the levies, then you have less warriors. That's kind of the trade. The units won't be as big, or have one less unit or something like that. So it's kind of a trade-off. I think if you want to take the levies, you could. Like if ATC, choose 7 points, take 6. So the 7th one could be levies. There might be a matchup or something where you're I got to root them out.
Along those lines, I would probably take Girders as a mercenary unit because they get a free shot that doesn't require an activation. Plus, they are pretty tough in combat as well.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, we've done show force, momentum, the Frankish people, so we can kind of see how the Franks are rolling here. Let's plow through the rest of their abilities and see kind of how it all plays out. So, on the bottom left, cast them down. Another 2-die ability here using commons. This is in melee. Gain 4 defense dice. If the opponent has closed ranks, reduce their armor by 1. So another 2-die ability here. Just commons, but you do need commons to activate the warriors. But if you're using the prior ability, maybe it's not a big of an issue. Encourage you to use it on the attack. But how do you use this? Do you get it often? Does it pass the 2-die threshold to get use?
Again, going back to that conservatively aggressive stance, I want to do as much damage as I can, but I need to conserve my ability to use the Franciscas. So if I'm charging in, say, a unit of Hearthguard with my warriors, I definitely want to use that. And looking ahead, I know I'm only going to make 1 charge this turn. I want to make it count. So I'll charge in with my 12-pack of warriors against even a 6-pack or 8-pack of Hearthguard. I'm going to take some damage, but being able to use the 4 defense dice is going to mitigate it a little bit. And if they close ranks, well, that just makes it juicier for me because then I can reduce their armor from 5 to 4, and I'm hitting them more often.
Yeah, I love that second part there. If they close ranks, reduce armor by 1. So basically, they got an extra pip on the defense dice. Well, you got an extra pip now on the attack. And so there's Mooned coming up later, but this is basically the one defense ability that keeps you alive besides Mooned, which we'll discuss.
And it's still inherently aggressive, being a defensive ability. Yeah, that fits right with the Franks.
So the 2 dice can be tough to sneak in, I guess. Where I used this the most was any hill scenario where you're fighting over the hill is like awesome because the fight's there. We've got I'm already activating everybody with the Frankish people. So I do have, I'm not tracing anybody down. We're just fighting over the hill. The hill battles, cast them down is great because you definitely have the dice to work it in, and you're doing lots of charges and attacks. And it definitely played it the most in those types of scenarios.
Or if you're trying to hold on to an objective.
Ooh, yeah, juicy, baby.
There. Yeah.
So, yeah, multi-use, definitely worth it if you can sneak the dice in. All right, let's pop back up to Vigor and Ardor. Melee ability for a common or uncommon. If your unit is equipped with Franciscas, after unit withdrawal, remove 1 of its fatigues. So, this after unit withdrawal, I think, you get a fatigue for the combat. This removes the fatigue, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so
exactly.
No special sequence stuff there. So, yeah, this is awesome. I mean, I'm assuming this one is probably getting used every turn.
It's another one of the common ones. And again, going back, you're only going to be really activating one unit, be it Hearthguard or Warriors, you're going to get them stuck in as quickly and as hard as possible. You want them to remain effective, so you're going to want them to stick around as long as you can, and you don't want them tired because those fatigues can be used against you. Mm-hmm. So you move them up, you use a later ability to get them charged in at the end of the ability, or at the end of the combat rather. Then you'll remove its fatigue, so now you've got a fresh unit sitting up there in front, ready for whatever's going to be coming along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is just pure. If you're a Saga player, this is like a Saga player's Saga gold. Ability here. It's yeah, gold. It seems kind of tame, but so good. I get to fight the melee without having to pay the cost of taking a fatigue. So awesome one. All right, let's do no surrender here. Melee, gain 2 attack dice. If unit is equipped with Francisca's, gain 2 additional attack dice. So getting an additional 4 here. Pretty tasty.
Which again is why it's so important to keep your warrior numbers above 6, which is why you have large units.
Yeah, so going from 8 to 12, 6 to 10 attacks. Could be comboed with that initial ability. Yeah, so you could have 6 warriors going to 6 to 9 plus 4, 13 attacks from a 6-man unit. Not too bad here.
Not shabby at all.
Yeah, this one
even
works.
Hearthguard still save on a 5-up.
Yep, so no bonus type attack dice limitations here. Warlord and Hearthguard will always have Francisca, so they're always going to get those additional attack dice here. Have you popped it on those sad warrior units that are 5 or less?
Oh my gosh,
just to get the 2.
There's absolutely no reason not to. And for an uncommon, it's again, this board is geared toward getting one massive combat, one massive win at a time. And that's how you're going to win your games.
Already on. Yeah.
But these also work on defense too. So while it might be tempting to want to clear your board on one big attack, remember they're coming back at you. And having a couple of these on your board will make them think twice about charging your units.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of like the Vikings, they're melee force for attack or defense. And, most abilities work just as well in defense here. So, yeah, having this up definitely would make me think a little bit harder about my battle plan. Next one down here is ban or bond. I say bond. I don't know why I say bond, but
whatever works.
Whatever works. Uncommon or rare. Activate for a unit for a charge that generates no fatigue. That's awesome. Use a rare, reroll this die, and place it on your board so you can keep it going here. So, yeah, I mean,
exactly.
Come on, this is awesome.
And this is the one I was telling you about. I was talking about earlier. You use impact to bring down your opponent's armor. You use the Frankish peoples to get them into charge range. Then you use bond to get a unit to charge, which causes no fatigue. And then you use vigor and ardor after the combat to remove that fatigue from the second activation. How can you go wrong, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'll use if you start within charge range, it's even better because you use the Frankish people to charge, vigor and ardor to remove the fatigue at the end of the combat. Now they have a fatigue, and then you use bond to charge it. You go in a second time. Right. With that same unit, maybe you have that first ability up, so you gain 3 attack dice on the first crack. You get another 3 at the second crack before anything happens here. The rare is interesting. I think this might be the first rare on the board so far. If you use a rare here, I think there's the next one we talk about it. I think is where the first rare is going to go. But yeah, I think it's fine for a rare. I mean, do you typically throw it up there or
depends on how many rares I've rolled. If I roll a couple, I will put it there because having a die on the board be used during your turn is very beneficial. So I could put that extra die in an ability I've already used, which means I can use it on your turn now. Like for cast them down or no surrender or vigor and ardor.
That's a good point. Yeah. Especially to cast them down is a
Mhm.
2-die bill. You might lock that up, use bond, and you know you're going to be using one of the 1-die ones we've already talked about here. So yeah, unless you get past the kind of Saga dice limit that everybody had, you have 8 for the turn. Well, with bond here, load up with the rare, you actually have 9 to play with for the turn.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I like that. And then, sometimes if you have the rare, sometimes just taking 2 with activation pool is nice, but you can't guarantee you're going to get that horse or the face again necessarily, depending what's going on. So I think, sometimes abilities take a rare and they don't do anything extra, and you just put it there anyways because you're like, well, I could activation pool it, but I just know I'm going to get 2 commons or something, and I won't be able to use it at all. So at least using the rare here does something for you. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I like it's uncommon, so you're probably going to get one. So you're going to get a fatigue-free charge, definitely. Or compared with the Saxons, where you have to roll the rare to get it. So it's a lot better with the rare, their version of fatigue-free charges, because it's 2 for 1. But you have to get the rare to do it. So you're always sweating a little bit as a Saxon. Where I think with the Franks, you can just kind of rest a little easier. You kind of you know you're going to get that fatigue-free charge most likely. All right, now let's talk about Moon Tear. Shooting reaction or melee, common or rare. Your opponent must discard 3 attack dice or 6 if you used a rare here. So, yeah, tell me about this one here,
one
Mark.
You use every turn you can.
Yeah, I think either one is fine. Definitely the rare is just a kick in the gonads to your opponent.
A hard spike kick at that.
Definitely a Monty ability here. He loves abilities that demoralize the opponent greatly. And this one, no matter what you're doing, I mean, it just absorbs a complete charge. A typical charge has 8 attacks, on average, or maybe a little bit more. So you're taking that down to 2. So just nothing is going to, of consequence, is really going to happen if you have this.
It's also particularly useful against shooting armies as well.
Yeah, so
like you got your composite crossbows or composite bows rather that are coming across the field, and all of a sudden they're shooting at you with even 6 dice, and now you're saying not only no you won't, but you get your fatigue, and I can short you and come in next turn and potentially wipe out that unit.
Yeah, so definitely better if the opponent just has a one big shot that they're going to do to kind of bring it down. But otherwise, you kind of rocking lots of warriors. You're kind of a little bit resilient to the shooting. This is kind of your only real defense. But yeah, take the 6 if you can get it. Definitely load the rare up. But the three's good, especially towards the end of the game.
Yep.
When those units get depleted. If the Franks player can keep getting those rares towards the end of the game, when those units start getting depleted, I think it makes a big difference. So yeah, definitely spicy ability. All right, let's get to the last one here. Moment of doubt, orders reaction. The last rare. So is this the last 3 that had the rares?
Right.
Choose an enemy unit during the first melee of the turn, which it is evolved. His armor is reduced by 1. So we'll just jump all the way back to the beginning. There's a little combo there where the enemy has to be armor 4 or less. So if you pop this, you can get the enemy warlord or the Hearthguard, at least for one of those combats, down to armor 4 and gain the bonus there. Probably when, well, how do you use it? Does this get a lot of play for you?
It's situational. Again, if I know that I'm going after the warlord, I will load that up, especially if I can get impact going as well. If an army is Hearthguard heavy, I'll also use it then. It doesn't do a lot towards warrior armies, but then if you're going in and you're hitting them on 3s instead of 4s, it's situational. But I usually won't waste a rare against a warrior army, or especially not a levy army.
Yeah.
This is particularly good towards the end of the game when all they have left is their warlord or a significant number of Hearthguard. a unit of 4 or 5 Hearthguard left, and they're in a position where I can charge them. Then I can drop their armor down. I can activate impact. I can Frankish people a unit up, and then I can charge them in with bond. So if I've got the dice, I can roll right in, and we can say goodbye to a unit of Hearthguard for relatively little cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the rare die for the Franks is an interesting place. So you have less Saga dice. So there'll always be some dice sitting there with activation pool. And then on top of that, you have impact as an order, show force as an orders, momentum as an orders. So you'll moment of death as orders reaction. So
orders
you can
reaction, yeah.
pop these in your orders phase, and if you have the rares, you can recycle them and get them back onto your board.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. So I think the first rare, I think we probably both agree, would go to Mund. The second one, between Moment of Doubt and Bond with a rare, would you?
Again, situationally, but early and mid game, it would be Bond without a doubt.
Okay, just to get the other die. Yeah, if you might roll a rare on that one and load up Moment of Doubt. You won't be able to pop it because it's orders reaction.
Well, it's also more beneficial to use Bond to get that charge in rather than reducing a potential enemy's defense when you don't need it.
Yeah. I've used it as a reaction to try and...
I've used it as a reaction, but more as a deterrent. I see that the Hearthguard unit is ready to charge in and will probably do some serious damage. Viking Berserkers come to mind. Okay, you want to come in, you want to blow up your little unit. Well, okay, you're 3 armor coming in. Now I reduce you to 2. You're probably going to blow up my unit, but I'm going to take you with me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it'll make your opponent reconsider what they're doing. Definitely kind of heavy weapon or maybe javelin units or something like that. If your warriors are coming in with armor 2 because of this ability, you're like,
right.
All right, 3 I could deal with, but now it's a 2 before you might have other stuff queued up here. It's like, come on, man.
So that one on a reactionary is more of a deterrent rather than I'm going to play this ability.
So that is the Franks here. I feel I like the Frank. I feel they're straightforward, which I like
very much so.
in Saga. Most of the time, because then I don't have to think as hard, and I want my opponent to do all the thinking, not me. I just want to be able to kind of play here. So I like that show force and momentum are kind of 2 dead spots on the board. Kind of, they're doing their thing. When they're ready, they're cooked. They're ready to go. But that way, I only have 8 Saga or 8 abilities to work with, kind of like Yam's Vikings. Right. Their turns are straightforward and simple. You're going to put a dice on Frankish people, so now you're down to 5 or 6. You want to do Bond. You want to do Vigor and Art. So it's like, it's just straightforward. It's just kind of, I'm going to do impact this turn or cast them down. I want to activation pool my rare, do Moment of Doubt. It's just kind of a limited number of decisions. So do you have fun playing the Franks?
Oh, Mark? I love it. Like I said, it's right up my alley. I like to get across the field. I like to get in your face. My problem historically has been overextending myself all the time. I want to do everything at once. I want to make a massive attack, just wipe you out, and all of a sudden my board is cleared. You're coming in, and that's not a good thing. So, like I said, conservatively aggressive. You get 1 unit into combat. You do the best you can with it, but you don't clear your board. You need to leave something behind because they're going to come right back at you.
Yeah, you want to have some troops left for when the momentum kicks off. I think is kind of the deal breaker there. If you can keep your units big enough where you can hammer them with momentum, the +1 to hit comboed with all these attack die abilities is pretty tasty.
And we talked about using momentum on the warriors. You can also use it on your Hearthguard unit.
Yeah, that's
so
a great place.
If your Hearthguard's off to the flank somewhere, you use momentum to get them back into the fight, get them back into combat. because they're not doing any good sitting over on the flank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think. Why aren't the Franks more popular? Why do you have any
They're not
idea
showy,
why it
they're
was?
not flashy, they're very straightforward. They're not the easiest to play, or they're not the easiest to win with. I mean, on their scale system, they're a 2-star army, so they're kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to get show force momentum used effectively, it's difficult because you can't always guarantee you're going to get those 3 wins right off.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think, Mund is a real standout, but I think the rest is just kind of bread and butter type fare. Fairly costed Saga abilities. They're not flashy, fatigue free charge. Removing a fatigue, you're not doing additional attack, you're not doing anything wild. It's just kind of a bread and butter type board. And I like playing them. I like the additional, this kind of the mini game. How do I get these wins? Encourages you to use kind of the warlord, maybe Hearthguard a little bit more to try to get those. It's
early
kind of a
wins, yeah.
double-edged sword there. You putting them out foolishly. Because once the warlord goes down, that Frankish peoples is not going to be around, right?
And you're not going to win.
Yeah, so you're going to have some hard times there. So definitely risk versus reward needs to be part of that calculation. But I think it's a fun warband. So you touched a little bit on the deserters as a possibility for the levies, but
there's
just
3
if you
that
wanted
I'll
some
use.
shooting. Yeah, what do you like for them?
The deserters are good. I do like the Federati because they're just tough as nails and they fit right with the board. You get them stuck in. If they win the combat, they fight immediately again before withdrawal.
Yeah.
So Federati is huge.
Yeah.
And then I will use a personal champion to extend my battle line. I might run with some slightly smaller warrior units. So instead of having 3 large blocks, I'll have 4 medium-sized blocks, say 8 or 9 in each unit. But then I can spread out, and that's particularly good against an objective holding scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've got a hero to either flank, if you will, that can control all 4 of my units.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I
actually what I need.
do really like the personal champion with the Franks here. So, like the warlord, he's going to win any combat he's in as long as he kills one guy. And He's got 6 attacks, so he's going to kill some guy. So the stuff that I was saying about the warlord, you kind of do with him to kind of get away with it. If he goes down, you still got the warlord. Or you throw the warlord in, and the personal champion, he's got his rules or whatever to kind of take fatigues for the warlord.
He can still activate 3.
Keep him alive.
Yeah, he can still activate 3 warrior units.
Mm-hmm. So, and the event I did go to, I did use one. I think I had Point of Hearthguard, personal champion, 2 units of 12 warriors, and the levy unit that I mentioned. So after playing it, I think I would drop the levy unit, get 8 more warriors, do 2 12s and an 8, and that worked pretty good. One of the 12-man units got depleted typically, but in most of those games, the other 12-man unit was kind of hanging back. I was kind of doing the fighting with everybody else, just waiting for momentum to go in with the +1 to hit and like 14, 17 attacks or whatever you could get up to. So, a lot of fun. And what models are you using for your Franks? Kind of generic guys or something?
Oh, they're
specific.
Scrofa miniatures that I use. The entire army is 3D printed, it's huge.
Yeah, those are great fags. Those are awesome.
And they've got the traditional mustaches, and some of them have the mohawks. They look like they're old-fashioned Germans, what they look like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are cool. Yeah, the Frankish kind of hairstyles or whatever kind of set them apart. So that's great to hear. I think there's a lot of good makers out there. So, all right. Wow. Mark, thank you for coming on here.
My pleasure, sir.
Go, I do want to thank Patrick, Sean, Mitchell, Scott, Frank, Britt, DJ, and the rest of the Saga Thursday patrons. Wouldn't be doing these videos without the support of those guys, so greatly appreciate it. If you played with or against the Franks, definitely comment below. Let us know how our thoughts either jive or disagree. Hard disagree. Where that would be interesting to hear. I think they're definitely a fun warband to try. There's no reason not to give them a shot.
My current favorites.
The other barbarians painted up for that time. So, all right, Mark, thanks again for coming on. And you are, I just want to say, one of the men behind Sword and Scabbard Games.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct. Gaming accessories, some flea market style games, paint pal systems to organize your paints, counters, all kinds of things.
Yeah, swordandscabbardgames.com. I know you guys are on Etsy, eBay as well, all kinds of 3D printed goodies. I got to see it all in person, see the magic happening, so to speak. So you got a lot of cool stuff, and you can definitely help a Saga gamer out. So
absolutely,
I encourage the viewers to head on over there, check it out. But all right, man, it's been great chatting with you. Hopefully, we'll see you again sometime. Yeah, we'll talk to you later. All right, bye. Saga. If you'd like to see more Saga content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon or popping on down to the Saga Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.